First of all, Vesna, I would like to make introduction to everyone over here. What are you doing and who are you? You are a food scientist. You've got PhD in biotechnology. You're also an environmental chemist. You are fiercely passionate about healthy food, diet, and obviously sustainability. You are teaching at the university, at the Agricultural University, if I remember well, and you also have an environmental consulting company. And if you could tell us a little bit more about your background very shortly, and also about your research. I know that you've been doing some super interesting research. We spoke earlier, especially about plants, which are really hard to grow in an unfriendly environment.
Thank you for that introduction. Yes, well, I started as an environmental chemist. Then I received an offer to be a PhD student and to work at the Faculty of Agriculture. And then somehow I combined those two, you know, and environment and food systems. And my research was about quinoa. That is a really good plant-based source for proteins. And also it is not that hard to grow it, because it should be called a sustainable product in every way, because it doesn't require a lot of resources for it, such as water, and it doesn't it's not expensive, you know, because that is also a part of sustainability. I mean, it shouldn't be expensive. It is, because it is labeled as a healthy product, but it shouldn't be. So yeah, but we ask a question: what will happen if we pollute the water for quinoa, to see what is going to happen. And what happened, I mean, let's say in a short way, what happened is that quinoa seed did not contain those heavy metals that we polluted them with. So it is also a good thing. It can be grown in a contaminated environment and still have a good safety and healthy product.
Very, very interesting. I'm always fascinated about all particular research and how curious it is. I will ask a few questions before we can take questions from others. If you can send question on the chat, or you can raise a hand and you can unmute yourself later. So one of my first questions, I just want to get the record straight about sustainability, about the definition, because I'm actually quite confused. What is sustainable food and diet? Is it organic? Is it vegetarian? Is it mean it has to be ecological food? What are the principles of sustainable food?
Well, it's a little bit of everything. Sustainability itself and sustainable diet itself has its definition defined by World and Health Organization and Food and Agriculture Organization. But I want to, let's say, like a simple definition of it. So sustainability in general and sustainable diet cares about people, planet, and profit. So what that means? That means that it cares for us as individuals and our health, while it protects the environment, and also the products and our diet should be easy and affordable. So because of that, I mean, organic food systems are part of sustainability, but they are not sustainable. I mean, if all of our agricultural system became organic system, that wouldn't be sustainable. Their products are not affordable, and we cannot produce that much food with organic systems. So I don't agree that that is sustainability, but it's okay to have a little bit of organic food systems, you know. And also for everybody asks me if I'm for vegetarian or vegan diets, but actually I'm not for extreme dietary choices, because they're not easy for people, you know. I mean, and I don't think that we need to be vegans or vegetarians to save the planet, because you cannot tell that to people, for example, not eat red meat at all ever again. So basically what I think that the key is in the balance. So I always prefer to say, let's avoid meat from time to time, not completely at all. That would be impossible. And also livestock production is also good for soil, so we don't need to exclude that from our agricultural systems.
So what are the basic principles of sustainability?
Well, basic principles would be, you know, to first, products should be like easy to reuse or recycle. I mean, if we consider products in general, not food products. And but for food production, let's say that we need optimization from in every aspect of our food system production. So every aspect from farm to fork, you know, we need to use less resources. We need to prevent pollution. We need to use less pesticides, less fertilizers, and we need to work on optimizing our system all the time, because there is no point where you can say, so this is sustainable. You need to always think about it and to optimize it. But actually, we need that mindset, you know, about sustainability and how to prevent pollution, how to save energy, save water, and that's it, basically. I mean, in a short way.
I think you already started answering my next question. Why sustainability matters and why now?
Why now? Well, let's start. You already heard sentences like, okay, sustainability improves the quality of our lives because, like I defined sustainability, it cares for us and for a system itself. And it protects the environment, which is very important, but it preserves natural resources such as air, water, and soil for future generations. And we already heard that sentence, I think, before, but I don't think that people really understand that last part, for future generations, because we are not looking far, far away into the future. We are basically we are saying in maybe few years, we will face the consequences of our unsustainable activities, and we will reach the point of where there is no turning back, you know. So now it's maybe the last chance to act on it and to do something about it, because we are already facing severe climate conditions and severe pollution of air and water. Especially, we will be in the lack of water to drink, you know, so, and the air to breathe. So basically, we really need to preserve those resources for future generations, because we will be like blamed for it, you know, looking upon and blamed because we didn't do anything about it while we still could. So
I want to ask you about education about sustainability. I have impressions that sometimes it's being used by companies in particular as a buzzword, a more fashionable word, or the right thing to say. For our interview yesterday, last night, I was reading some companies. I admit there were some fashion companies, not just food. So we're talking, we are sustainable. And honestly, it was gibberish. It just didn't say anything, didn't explain what does it mean sustainability for them, what does it mean their products. They are using sustainable products, but then they are shipping this from the other side of the world over here, and I'm just confused. Is it really? So it's about, is it buzzword? Is it fashionable? Is it, and at the end, people find it as a confusing and stop caring, you know, where the educational aspect lies?
Well, yes, we do need education about sustainability in general. And I think that we need that in all levels. I mean, starting with the kindergarten, where you will also educate parents, because that is the point where they are still learning with their kids, all through the elementary school, high school, and of course colleges. So we need that education, and we shouldn't let media, I don't want to offend anybody, but we really shouldn't let media educate us at all about something. We need experts in that area. And for companies, I think that we need to somehow make that sustainable courses in some way, like you have fire safety, like you have first aid course. I think sustainability is really something to think about, and to think about it now. And for products and for products, there is, let me just find it and read that part, because there is guidelines for providing product sustainability information that it was started 4 years ago from United Nations Environment Program. And it has really everything you need to know as a company, how to mark your product as sustainable. And the first principle is basically to tell the truth, to have accurate data supported by science, So that is the first. And with guidelines like that, we will be able to really mark our products as sustainable, and with in a way that really matters to people. They will believe if we have if those data are supported by science, and of course if they are easy explained to them, easy for them to understand.
That's right. I think it's a little bit confusion with the explanation as well. So if you could help us to understand, for example, in supermarkets, I mean, I'm based in the UK, but I don't know how it's in other countries. We do not have shelves labeled sustainable product. It's organic or gluten-free or whatever, but it's not sustainable. If at some point there will be products called sustainable section, what type of products, what kind of products will be there?
Well, that is hard to define actually, because like the most sustainable products are fruit and vegetables. But actually we need like sustainable agriculture systems, and then we can say that those products are sustainable. So it will be hard, I think it will be hard to have that kind of a line or shelf only for sustainable products, because a lot of products can be marked as sustainable. Actually, all the products can be marked as sustainable, except for probably red meat, but still everything else can be marked as sustainable. And I don't think that is a good way to start introducing sustainable products to people, to consumers, because like you said, I mean, we all have that healthy food shelves with a lot of organic food and gluten-free, sugar-free, stuff like that. But those products are really expensive. I mean, by my experience, here they are expensive. If it's gluten-free, if it's quinoa, it is really expensive, but it shouldn't be. So that is not part of sustainability. Products should be affordable for consumers.
One question, actually, I want to read later, but this question came from Krish, which is right on the topic what we're talking about. So I would like to read it, if that's okay.
Yes.
What about manufacturing synthetic food? What is the current status? Would that be labeled sustainable?
Well, probably, yeah, depends, I mean, on the whole system itself, but because every food production line is needs to be examined case by case, like they need to have an expert to tell them how to be sustainable and how to optimize their system and how to change it through time to be more and more sustainable. So yes, I think if we are talking about plant-based products, they are going to replace meat, especially red meat, then sure, they are sustainable.
Research, I read recently interesting research about was European customers. 60% said that, and there was quite a number, I think 60,000 people have been taking into account and asked the question, if 60% said that they would pay for sustainable food and they do care about. But still, we do see not that many food producers, also grocery stores, food suppliers in general, do not really label or be proud of providing sustainable, putting sustainable food. Why do you think is that?
Well, first of all, we really need that education, in order to people to understand what is sustainability actually and why is that important and everything. And then I think that this will be more the case, that producers will be labeling their products as sustainable. Before all of that education hits, maybe this is still in the level of fraud. So that's why we really need those systems, and companies, I believe that they will work on that, because things are changing this year, I think.
Max Geering, if I don't know if you want me to read it out or you read it yourself, but I'm happy to read out a question.
Yes.
Is there not a confusion between calling something sustainable and claiming it has low environmental impact than alternative products? There are many products claiming to be sustainable where the environmental impact is higher than non-sustainable claiming alternatives.
Oh, let me see that question. Yes, claiming to be sustainable. Yes, well, there is a lot of fraud in a lot of products. That is the problem, because they need adequate guidelines and laws to prevent this thing from happening, actually. Because producers, companies will basically use this situation, if they are not prevented to do so. So
something like fair trade or something more,
yes.
Which leads me to a next question about legislation. I have not seen really any guidance legislation, apart from what you said, some loose guidance, but not implemented legislation in any country, if I remember well, about sustainable food or production and agriculture. But maybe it's something I missed out you could share with us, or what are the top 3 you would say most important legislative topics which will help the sustainability?
Well, like I said, this year they are changing they are trying to, I think they will succeed, changing the common agricultural policy. That is something that will start in 2023. And their aim of that changing is to accept sustainable agriculture systems, to include them in a system in general, and to support the livelihood of farmers. That is really important because, like I said, sustainability has 3 dimensions: people, planet, and profit. So we need to take care of the farmers as well, not just to include some things that they will that they cannot survive. To change their system in that way. And I think that will be a great start in 2023. And also those systems will provide healthy and sustainable food for their consumers and not to be that much expensive. Also, they are trying to change the policy about pesticides, actually how to use less pesticides, because that is also a matter of consumers' health and environmental burden as well. And also they are trying to evaluate the feed additives regulations to reduce an environmental impact of livestock farming. So they will never prevent altogether impact of livestock farming, but still if they minimize it, it is also a good thing.
I want to ask you a question about sustainability and health. It's sustainable food, does it mean that it's also healthy food?
Well, yes, if you, let's start with the production. If you use less pesticides, for example, that is healthy. And other thing, I mean, it happens to be that, for example, red meat is the least sustainable product. And also red meat offers a lot of nutrients and proteins, etc. So we cannot say it's unhealthy, but still excessive consumption of red meat can lead to diverse health effects. So like I said, the key is in the balance. So if we choose to eat less red meat, we will be sustainable because it is good for us and also good for the environment, and also cheaper to sometimes include more vegetables and fruit in our diet.
I want to ask you a question about pricing. I had a previously conversation with our scientist Brian about about some food. It's really hard to tell people, you have to eat healthy, you have to eat organic, you have to eat sustainable food, because sometimes the food is just more expensive. I understand that one of the dimensions of the sustainable food is eat something which is close to us. So I would prefer to eat something which is from the farmers near Oxford where I live. However, when I go to supermarket, the strawberries from South Africa cost half a price than the strawberries from the farmer near me. So I want to ask you about this challenge about the pricing and sustainable food.
Well, yes, that challenge is happening because the production in South Africa is cheaper than in UK. So probably that is the case. So it is hard to avoid that in totally, but actually if we put policies about agriculture, again, we are back to the sustainable agriculture system. If we have policies about that, then we will import foods as well there that came from sustainable agriculture systems, and maybe we can change systems so they cost less, so the product will maybe be less expensive. But for example, here in Serbia, it's not like that. Local food is less expensive than imported foods, less expensive, like 4 times. So here not the problem.
I think, yes, it varies from country to country, yes, definitely. Yeah. We have some more question if you want to read it from Max. For example, food waste, animal derived food waste produces less food waste than fruit and vegetable do it by weight. So why do we say animal products are less sustainable than fruits and vegetables?
Okay, well, it's not an easy question, but yes, I mean, why do we say animal products are less sustainable? Because I can share one figure, actually. I want to show something. It's about carbon, greenhouse gas emissions in general from food production, but it's only for meat. But I want to just share why did I say that beef is the least sustainable food product? Because of what happens while it is produced. So you can see how much beef has higher carbon footprint than even pork or chicken meat. So chicken meat and pork, a little more for pork, of course. This is what happens at farm gate, and this is a Swedish production to time periods, but we are not, I didn't show you this to compare those 2 years, just to see how much bigger environmental burden is from beef. And Let's see at the question one more time. So food waste, actually the one thing about it is that we are trying to reduce food waste. And food waste from fruit and vegetables can be used for soil. But food waste, animal food waste is really a heavy burden. So basically we can reuse food waste that comes from fruit and vegetables. And
yes, Max, if you can unmute yourself and go ahead.
Hi, Max.
Might be easier. Hi. Thank you so much for the information so far. The thing that I'm most familiar with or interested in is basically, as a consumer, I end up buying food, and if I throw organic waste away in a modern city, which a lot of people more and more tend to live in, then from animal products, I tend to only throw away packaging, which obviously has a logistical impact and environmental impact in trying to dispose it. And you can improve the materials and therefore reduce or remove, environmental impact over time. But with vegetables and fruits, it often ends up half the product that I can't cook, can't eat. So half of it has been transported all the way to me, and then needs to be transported all the way away again in some form. So from a sustainability measurement point of view, I feel like we're too focused on the production and not enough on the full chain of emission that's created by a food product based on, the way that we consume it at the moment.
Well, yes, we are focused right now more on production itself rather than food waste. But in general, we are focused on food waste and trying to reduce food waste, actually, because 60% of food waste come from our kitchens. And that is the really huge problem, and we really need to influence people, try to organize your meals and your grocery shop and everything and your fridge to eliminate, to reduce food waste, actually, because yes, that is one problem. But if you even if you think about for beef, for meat production, if you consider from farm to fork and with food waste, still it is a bigger environmental impact of meat on it.
Yeah, that's why I think it's exciting that they're trying to figure out a new diet, because we're talking about sustainable diet. I think the most interesting with beef is they're trying to figure out a diet for cattle that ultimately will reduce the emissions that are happening during the years of breeding beef. And if that is solved, then suddenly we'll move in line probably with the other animals or less.
Yes.
And then we've done all this sort of advertising around beef being non-sustainable, but it's actually to do with their own diet.
Yeah, but the problem is that we eat too much beef. If we lower our diet in beef, that wouldn't be that much problem. But we do eat a lot of beef. So the more we eat, the more they produce. That's why I say always just sometimes don't eat red meat. Yeah. Don't eat it at all. You don't have to become a vegan or vegetarian.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Max. We also have a question from Krish. A lot of food, Krish, you are welcome to ask yourself if you like, or I can just read it out.
Read it, please.
Yes. A lot of food is getting wasted before it comes to our plates. Wouldn't it be better to increase the shelf life of the vegetables and fruits with the help of gene editing?
Well, yes, of course, that would be a great thing, but still the mostly food waste comes from our kitchen. Yes, there is one part of food waste before our kitchens, but the biggest problem is that people are wasting not just food, they are wasting everything. So that is still something that we need to reduce, not the producers, especially food waste. Everything else, okay, yes, we need to find a way in the production line, but food waste is really our biggest challenge right now, us as consumers.
I think it will be next topic for our next fireside chat with another scientist from the Sciences. about the upcycling movement as well. I have a couple of more questions. One is just very general. How every person and an individual can become sustainable? What does it mean sustainable living? How, as an individual, we can help to be sustainable?
Yes, but we should start with our kitchens, but I already said that a few times. But we should start there and to really prevent wasting, not just food, but everything else. And we should always think about, but let's say we need another mindset, that we need to include that way of thinking into our lives to be sustainable all the time and to achieve more sustainability through time with saving resources. Especially when you are preparing food, you should save water. You should think about that. Think about the future when we will probably have less water to spend. So we should start with that, saving resources, saving energy as well. I mean, if we're talking about sustainability in general. And if you think about that, think about saving all the time and not producing that much waste, food and everything else, I think that will be a great part of embracing sustainability. But through time, that needs time, because if we think a lot about it, because when we come from our grocery shop, I don't know about UK, but here in Serbia, you cannot avoid plastic, for example. That is impossible. So I try to reuse as much as I can, but I still produce too much waste. I think that is too much, but some things you just cannot prevent. Some things are not on you, but we should think about things that are on us, and not think too much about things that are not on us. I don't know if I'm clear, but somewhere I heard about this climate changing and everything. I heard a lady saying, scientists saying that if you think too much about what is happening, and if you think about it all the time, you will simply be depressed. You need to think about things that are happening near you and things that you can influence. But other things, no, because that will lead us to depression.
Probably, with a mix of better education, getting into a habit of
Yes.
different behavior, and maybe some incentives. I don't know which one, legislation. It could really help. And my last questions, unless anybody else has questions for Vesna, or if you don't have questions now, you're very welcome to ask Vesna a question on Science Says as well. How companies can become sustainable? When do we know this is true sustainable product? If I'm buying the strawberries I mentioned earlier, and it says sustainable, how do I know? How do I check as a consumer?
Well, yes, that is a little bit hard to check as a regular consumer if your product is sustainable really or not. But basically, start with the production line. Is it agriculture sustainable system or not? And companies in general, I think they really need to also set that mindset about sustainability, and they need to not just to optimize their systems of production now and say it is sustainable. They have to work on it every year. I mean, work on it all the time to make it more and more sustainable. So to also save resources, save energy, and things like that. And every production line needs case by case analysis. So they need a person who is going to be in charge of sustainability and how to implement it, how to explain it for the consumers, and how to be clear about it, and to be, like I already said, they need facts. They are supported by science, so data supported, and not just fake marketing. And they need to make consumers believe them. They are sustainable and why. And they need to really optimize their system and then brag about it through marketing.
So basically, I want to challenge you a little bit. So if I buy the strawberries, I should be watching out for. It shouldn't be too expensive. It should come from as closest as possible from a local farming near me. And it should include where was produced, by whom, where from, and energy used. All this kind of information would prove that this product is sustainable.
Well, yes, I don't know if they will provide all the right information. That is the question now, I mean. But if that is something that they should do, then they will do it. So basically, legislations, laws, and everything should push producers to that, you know, to be sustainable and to explain to us in a simple way why they are sustainable, and to just be, you know, truthful about it. But that should be something that comes from some kind of guidelines, law, etc.
I mean,
yes, buying local and seasonal products is part of a sustainable diet because of the energy spent for transfer and more when they need to be refrigerated. So basically, local food is also healthier choice because it is freshly picked, and also it doesn't need a lot of energy to come from farm to the consumers. So in that way, it's environmental friendly. And also, if you have rich production of seasonal products, if you have a lot of, depends where you are, but basically, I mean, globally, thinking about it globally. But if you have a plenty of vegetables, for example, and fruits in your area, and you eat seasonal fruits, then you are eating every season something else, which is also a healthy thing, because we have to eat a lot of fruits and vegetables different, not just stick with one. So it is good to change it. That's why local and seasonal products.
That sometimes makes me think, do we really need strawberries in the middle of January? Sometimes we
yes, stuff like that. Yes. We are not used to it. I mean, we eat strawberries all year long. That wasn't the case years before.
That's right. Thank you very much. Thank you, Vesna, for the chat, for giving us a little bit more information and enlightened about sustainability. What does it mean? It's not exactly because it's vegetarian or organic.
Yes.
And it's okay to eat meat, even red meat from time to time. If anybody would like to talk to Vesna and to read her post, please, it's free to sign up with Science Says and also ask her questions. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Vesna.
Hi.
Sorry, do I have a minute to have your last question or last discussion?
Go for it.
I'm Juanita. I am a founder of Alma Health, which is an app to teach women how to take care of their health and the environment. And it's like teaching, you were talking about this lack of knowledge, this gap of knowledge in our health is related and dependent to the environment. And I feel like we're missing a lot of also sensitivity from changing to an extractive economy to a care economy, which is provided by women. So most environmental leaders, they're women, and it's super interesting what we're talking about, because part of what we need to understand and learn is to how to relate with nature in a different way, that it's not a commodity, but it's something that it's dependent. We are connected to each other,
Yes.
So
actually, we need to find a way not to stop our development, but to keep on developing and cherish for the environment as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Okay, if no more questions, thank you so much. Please do connect with Vesna, and we will definitely continue conversation, and maybe next time talk about also upcycling and recycling and what's the difference and how to do it best. But do connect on Sciences. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you. It was lovely to have this chat with you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.